Hello, friend. Welcome to the Homeschool Well podcast. Today we are talking about planning. And last week we talked a little bit about how to plan out your daily schedule. This is going to be like how to do long-term planning and why I liked to do it. So, if you are a planner, you are going to love this episode. And if you are a visual person, we actually have a class that has slides and everything and downloadable, like little planning sheets that you can get. And it's on our site, thehomeschool.com, under the resources tab. And you have to scroll down a little bit. But it's called a step-by-step planning class. And it's like $17. And it takes you just 25 minutes on how I used to plan from my year down to semesters, down to 9 weeks, down to the daily. And I just walk you through step by step, and it has little sheets that you can use to follow along with me and do it with your own plans. So if you're a visual person, you might like that instead of this. But today I'm just going to kind of walk you through the process and give you an idea of how you can break down this big job into actionable step by steps. Okay, so stick around and I think you'll find it helpful. Hey, I'm Jenny Barr.
And I'm Kim Godfrey.
We're friends, former teachers, and homeschool moms ourselves who host the Homeschool Well podcast. We talk about topics that are important to homeschool moms so that you can be your child's best teacher. Hello and welcome. This is Jenny here today. I am flying solo to talk about planning because this is something I love, and Kim, not so much. She is an out-of-the-box thinker and can take anything and take you out of the box with it. And I am more of the in-the-box thinker. And so I love to plan, make schedules, and all that junk. That said, we both have our gifts. And so that's what makes our friendship work. So today we're just talking about how to take a big project like planning for the year or your semester and break it down into steps so that you can have a plan in place when you get started in your homeschool year. Now, if you just bought like a big box curriculum, you don't need to do this because they lay it out for you. But for me, I usually bought a lot of different types of things. Like I would buy science from one company and Bible from another and history from another. And so somehow I had to get it all together and put it on a calendar to make us move forward. And I didn't always do that when I first started homeschooling on my own. And then if you've listened to me before, you may have heard me say this, but I would get to like the end of May and say, oh, shoot, we have like 2 or 3 math chapters left that we didn't even come close to finishing. And that stinks when you have to do math during the summer and you wanted to take that time off. So this kind of gives you a better overview of what's coming and what's left. And I'm going to talk about that too before I end up giving you all the steps to plan. I want to tell you why sometimes planning ahead is a good idea and why I liked to do it. There were lots of benefits for it. So this episode is not for everyone. If you don't like to plan ahead, then this episode is probably not for you. But if you do want to have a plan in place so you're not freaking out wondering, oh my gosh, what's happening? How much is left? Then this helps you see what's coming. Okay, so here are the benefits of why I liked long-term planning once I finally started. One reason was that I could see in just a glimpse what I was going to be doing for the year. Or if it was like mid-year, like what had we done and what was coming up. And that was helpful to me. It was like a zoomed out view of our year. Another reason I really liked it is because once I started doing it, it really helped me get organized and plan for things coming up. Like I could get books from the library a month ahead of time if I knew that I had, like an Egyptian unit coming up. And at our library, we could schedule them so that I could just go through the drive-through and pick them all up at one time when I knew we would be doing that unit. Also, it helped me plan field trips to go along with certain things. Like we studied music composers. And so I found at our local orchestra, the Florida Orchestra, they were doing that composer later in the spring. And so I was like, perfect. We're going to wait to study that guy later in the spring. And then we'll be able to go to a concert and culminate that experience. So it's really helpful to plan activities and field trips and get materials when you know what's coming up. It's great. Another reason, and I kind of just said this, is that it helps you align your subjects together. Like when my kids were a little older, I wanted us to study history in a certain time period, and then I wanted things to go along with it. Like I wanted to do a music study with it and, with composers. And then I wanted to study an artist from that time period too. And when you have all those things that go together, it really makes the experience very rich, and it gives you a deeper understanding of the time period. And it's not just boring historical facts. It's like this is what was happening around the world at that time too. So getting everything set up like this kind of helps you gel everything together and align it. The other thing it helped me do was really keep up with my pacing so that I didn't end up at the end of the year with all of this stuff left that I want to get to. And we did not get to everything every year. There were some times where we didn't finish a book, and that's okay too, right? But I didn't want to run out of time at the end of the year. I wanted to accomplish the things that I had set out to do and that I knew my kids would like. So it did help me keep up the pacing. And the last thing for me that planning ahead helped me do was I did not have to think. Like once I had it all in place, I could kind of go on autopilot a little bit and just go through it. I didn't have to keep scrambling to think like, what's coming next? What's going to happen? I wasn't like going into this dark hole. I knew what was coming. I could see ahead. And so that really helped me. I was a busy mom. I was working from home. I had two active kids and I was tired. I just didn't want to be thinking so hard about my schedule as the year went on. So once I did some work in the summer, a little bit up front, it helped me so much once the school year started. So those are the benefits of why creating a year-long schedule can really help you. All right, so now I'm going to break it down into 5 steps of how you can take all of your materials and work them into a year-long plan. Step number 1 is to gather all of your materials that you are going to use. So Bible, math, science, history. If there are certain books you want to read, certain literature books, art curriculum, whatever you are going to do, gather it all together and put it in front of you. That's an easy step, right? Step number 2 is to take out a calendar. And I used to just print one off the internet, like a free cheap one on different pages. So each month was one page. And I would decide on dates and figure out what around when I wanted to start and around when I wanted to be done. For us, my kids had a lot of friends in public school and on their swim team with them and everything, and they wanted to follow along with public school schedule. So that was easy for me. Then step number 3 is to take those calendars and write in all the dates that you know that you need off. For us, we didn't do school on Fridays, so we had 4-day weeks. I would put in Christmas vacations or times when I knew we had to be traveling or out of town, holidays, and all of that. Take your pencil and start marking those out. Number 4 is when that gets a little bit nitty-gritty. So you are going to take each of your books or your curriculum manuals, like your teacher's guides, whatever you have, and you're going to look in the front or at the scope and sequence or at the table of contents, and you're going to think about how you are going to break out these chapters or lessons so that they're going to fit into your year. Now, in fact, a lot of it, if it's homeschool curriculum, it will have like how to break it out into 32 weeks or 36 weeks. One of our history books was broken out into 4 units, and each unit was about 9 weeks long. And so sometimes they will help you with that. If there was a book I knew I wanted to read around Christmas time, then I would look into it and see how many chapters are in this and how do I think I can break it down into 3 weeks or something like that. So you're going to be looking in the front of each of your books and figuring out how you're going to start penciling these in on your calendar. Then once you get that on your calendar, you can go back and sprinkle in some activities you might want to do during that time, some read alouds you might want to do during that time, and you're just penciling all these things in the calendar. Number 5, once you get all of that laid out, and it might take you a while, and you might want to use some sticky notes so you can move things around, or you definitely want to use a pencil so that you can erase. But once you get all of that laid out and you're pretty firm with when you're going to teach those things, then you can break it down even further later once you get close to school starting, and you can start making your weekly schedule and or your daily schedule. Once we got closer, I could break it down day by day, and I would write down what my kids were going to do that day so they could check it off. You can put it into a planner, whatever works for you. So that is an overview of the 5 steps of how to take all of your stuff and lay it out into your year. So I'm going to recap them again. Number 1 was gather all your things. Number 2 is to get out a calendar and decide when you're going to start and stop. Number 3 is to write in all your dates off, vacations, holidays, Fridays, whatever you do. Number 4 is to look at the scope and sequences or the table of contents for all of your books and decide how you think you can break that up and put it onto a calendar for a month. And then number 5 is once you have it all kind of laid out, you can take it later and break it down into weekly or daily plans once school starts. So we hope this was helpful, and I gave you a quick idea of how you can break all of this material down into step-by-step plans. If this is still overwhelming to you, like I said, you can go to our site, go under the resources tab, and get that class, and you can actually see it laid out step by step and follow along with me on our planning sheets. The other resource we have is our online community. We meet weekly and we talk about things like planning and schedules and curriculum and how to get your kids to buy in, all of that stuff. So that would be another option if you need someone to help you lay out your year. And it's an ongoing subscription, which is awesome for convenience, and just you can pop in our community whenever you need to and get help. I will leave all those links in the show notes, and you can also feel free to reach out to us if you have questions or you need help and support for your homeschool too. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you again next week. Bye.
Are you looking for a place to connect with other homeschool moms? Well, we have a platform where members gather to support each other throughout their homeschool journeys. Moms just like you. We even have a spot for your kids to interact online in privacy and safety. So head over there and start creating community. thehomeschoolwell.com